You know, we often picture groundbreaking tech happening like down here on Earth, right, in labs or big tech hubs.
Hmm.
But there's this quiet revolution going on literally above our heads, hundreds of miles up.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating stuff.
We're talking about artificial intelligence meeting satellite technology. Sounds futuristic, but it's happening right now and could really change how we see our own planet.
It really is a powerful combination. For this deep dive, we've been looking at Kenton Patterson's Future Tech Wise blog.
Right.
And he paints a really vivid picture of just how, well, transformative this fusion is becoming. It's way beyond just snapping photos from space now. It's about real understanding.
Exactly. So our mission today basically is to pull out the most interesting and the most important insights from Patterson's article. We want to explore how AI is, supercharging what satellites can do.
And how that leads to actual practical applications back here on Earth.
Yeah, things that really matter. Patterson puts it nicely. He says, the stars have never felt closer. So let's dive in and see what that really means. Where should we start breaking this down?
Well, I think the best place to start is probably with the satellites themselves. Patterson really stresses how AI is making them smarter, faster, more efficient.
Okay.
So they're not just like fancy cameras anymore. They can actually process information, learn from it, even adapt what they're doing while they're up there in orbit.
Right. And that's a big shift, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
usually they're just taking orders from the ground.
Exactly.
So what's the real benefit of having that kind of onboard brain?
Well, think about the delay, sending data down, analyzing it, sending instructions back up. It takes time.
Sure.
If the satellite can analyze data right there in real time, we cut out a lot of that lag. It means much faster responses to things happening down here.
Oh.
Patterson makes the point that it shifts the focus. It's not just about collecting mountains of data anymore. It's about actually understanding it right then and there, like
Right.
having an analyst riding shotgun on the satellite.
An analyst riding shotgun, I like that. And that ability to, interpret things instantly, that must lead to some really important uses. Patterson mentioned some specific examples, right? Turning raw data into, well, actual intelligence.
Precisely. Think about environmental monitoring. Usually that means downloading massive files. Someone has to sift through them. It takes ages.
Yeah.
Now, AI can spot key patterns almost immediately. Patterson talks about things like detecting ships lost at sea. Imagine the difference that makes in a rescue.
Wow.
Or tracking the subtle signs of climate change. These are, as he puts it, potentially life-saving insights coming straight from orbit.
And it seems especially powerful for, like, environmental protection. Patterson uses this great phrase, eyes in the sky with a heart on Earth. Really captures it.
It does, yeah.
So how exactly is AI acting as this environmental guardian?
Well, the challenge is always scale, isn't it? How do
Yeah.
you watch over the whole planet?
Right.
AI-powered change detection using satellite images gives us a way. Patterson explains how we can now monitor deforestation much more effectively, watch cities grow, track how fast glaciers are melting.
So real-time tracking of huge changes.
Exactly, and even identifying illegal fishing activities. The AI algorithms analyze the imagery and flag suspicious patterns. It really is, like Patterson says, science with purpose. Using tech to actively watch over and protect the planet.
It really brings it home that this isn't just abstract tech. It's doing real work for the planet's health. And then there's the disaster warning aspect. That sounds like a potential game changer.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine satellites constantly scanning for the early signs, the indicators that often come before a natural disaster. AI is incredibly good at finding subtle patterns in huge data sets, patterns a human might miss, so it can trigger early warning systems much sooner.
Giving people more time to prepare or evacuate.
Exactly. Patterson talks about giving communities facing floods or earthquakes or wildfires that crucial extra time, a fighting chance, he calls it. It's using that high vantage point to build resilience down here.
Like a planetary smoke detector, almost.
Kind of.
And the idea of satellites operating more on their own, that autonomy is, well, it's kind of mind-bending. How does AI enable that?
It's really clever. AI basically lets satellites manage themselves much more effectively. Take navigation, for example.
Okay.
They can adjust their own orbits, perform routine maneuvers without waiting for commands from Earth. And crucially, they can autonomously dodge space debris or other satellites.
Which must be increasingly important with so much stuff up there now.
It really is. It makes operating in space safer and more efficient.
So they're essentially flying themselves. And Patterson also mentions AI acting like a mechanic.
Yeah.
Before says an onboard mechanic. What's that about?
Think of it like a constant health checkup for the satellite itself.
Yeah.
AI systems monitor all the satellite's internal systems, sensors, power levels, everything, looking for tiny anomalies, anything that might signal a future problem.
So predictive maintenance, but in space.
Exactly. By catching potential issues early, AI can help prevent failures, maybe suggest corrective actions, and ultimately extend the working life of these very expensive machines. It's like preventative care happening autonomously, millions of miles away.
So they're smarter about the world below and smarter about themselves too. Now, Patterson also talks a lot about enhanced situational awareness. How does that actually help us down here?
Right, so this is about the bigger picture. Situational awareness means getting a really complete, up-to-the-minute understanding of what's going on.
Okay.
AI is key here because it can fuse data from lots of different sources, not just the satellite's own images, but maybe ground sensors, weather data, real-time reports, other satellites.
Pulling it all together.
Exactly, creating a single, unified view of a situation. And this has huge implications across so many areas.
Can you give some examples? Where are we seeing this kind of integrated view making a difference?
Okay, think about disaster response again. After a major earthquake, say,
Right.
enhanced situational awareness, powered by AI fusing satellite imagery with maybe drone footage and ground reports, gives responders a much clearer picture of the damage almost instantly. Where are the roads blocked? Which areas need help first? It allows for much faster, more targeted aid.
Makes sense.
Or in agriculture, like Patterson points out, AI can combine satellite data on crop health with weather forecasts and soil moisture readings.
To predict yields.
Yeah, predict yields more accurately, help farmers use water and fertilizer more efficiently. For humanitarian work, it can mean finding isolated communities faster. And for governments, it helps track infrastructure development, energy use, population shifts. You get the picture.
Yeah, it's about smarter, faster decisions everywhere, based on a much richer understanding of what's actually happening.
Precisely. It enables more effective action on the ground.
And it sounds like this AI integration is also pushing innovation in the space industry itself, not just in how we use the satellites.
Absolutely. AI is becoming increasingly important in actually building the satellites. Patterson notes its role in manufacturing,
Yes. Oh.
improving precision, finding efficiencies, quality control, ultimately helping to make building complex satellites faster and potentially cheaper, which in turn makes space tech more accessible.
And it's not just building them better, right? AI is also improving how we use them for communication.
Yeah, that's a huge one. AI can optimize how satellite communication networks operate, managing bandwidth, improving signal quality, making the connections more reliable and efficient.
Which is critical for connecting remote areas.
Exactly, bridging those digital divides. Patterson highlights how this brings vital services, education, telemedicine, e-commerce to places that previously didn't have reliable internet. It's using space to connect the whole planet more equitably.
It really seems to touch almost everything. Patterson mentions defense, intelligence, Earth observation, scientific research, climate action. The list goes on.
It really does. The core idea is taking the unique vantage point and capabilities of satellites and just, well, amplifying them hugely with AI's ability to process, learn, and adapt. It unlocks things that just weren't feasible even a few years back.
And Patterson wraps it all up with a really powerful concluding thought, doesn't he? Shifting focus back from the tech to, well, to us.
Yeah, his conclusion is really compelling. He reminds us that this isn't ultimately just about clever machines orbiting Earth.
Right.
It's about human ingenuity. It's about our ability as a species to tackle really big global challenges. He shares this perspective from New Zealand, looking up the stars, not just with wonder, but with purpose.
Purpose, I like that. It suggests empowerment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And maybe more collaboration needed to solve these global problems. And ultimately, a sense of hope.
Definitely hope. He calls this whole development a story of human ingenuity, resilience, and hope that's kind of embedded within the technology itself. It's quite an inspiring perspective.
It really is.
Mm.
So reflecting on Patterson's article, the main takeaway seems pretty clear. AI is fundamentally changing the game for satellite technology. It's not just an upgrade. It's like adding a whole new dimension of capability.
Exactly. A massive amplifier leading to real, tangible benefits from protecting fragile ecosystems to helping communities prepare for disasters to connecting people across vast distances. The impact is already significant and it's growing fast.
Absolutely. So maybe a final thought for our listeners to chew on. With this incredibly powerful new view of our planet enabled by AI and space, How might that change how we understand the huge challenges we face? Things like climate change, resource scarcity, global health.
Yeah, how might it change our ability to actually address those challenges, maybe more collaboratively, more effectively?
Right. Think about what it means to, as Patterson so nicely put it, bring their light back home. What does that enhanced perspective truly enable for all of us?